Hey everybody, Tim here from Workshop 12 with an update on the G37 project. So we've been working through our 3D models, trying to see how everything's going to fit properly in the dashboard. We've got kind of good news, bad news. And we'll get into those things. We'll talk about the bad news first and then the good news after that. But we want to take a look at the sizing. So we're working through some different sizing exercises. So let's jump over here into some image software that we can kind of take a look at what's going on. So here we can see we've got our G37 dash and we've got the OEM climate controls, and these are stripped down in a way that we feel that we could fit a tablet inside their bounds to be able to basically be able to keep using the OEM climate control knobs and try to piggyback off of the OEM stereo with an input of some sort. So that would help us with a lot of, it means that it's a little bit less complicated electronics from our side, and we're hoping to piggyback in, but it could cause some other different complications. But the real challenge that we have here really is on size and fit. So our 10.5-inch tablet is just too tall to be able to fit in the space provided for headphone jacks, power jacks, all these sorts of things with inside of these climate control. And it's not just the height. So even if we were to put in a 10.1-inch tablet in here, it's the angle in which these have to be installed. So in order to even get it to come close to fitting from essentially a tilt perspective, is that those climate control knobs would have to actually be tilted back in order to be able to get that to fit in. And that means all of the OEM hardware and the connection points and stuff like that just aren't going to work. So even if we put in a 10.1-inch tablet, its tilt of that tablet's going to poke out in front. It's not going to fit within the space, and it's going to look really weird in the space provided. So if we can take a look here again, we're really just, and this is, here's the top of the plastic inside of the dashboard, bottom of the plastic. So any of these jacks here, whether it's on the top or the bottom, are bumping into OEM plastics that, or the climate control that we have there. So good news is that we have all of the CAN bus climate control stuff figured out for the G37. It's actually the same for the G37, the 370Z, and actually a lot of the new GTRs as well. Just there's a combination between either single zone or dual zone. So we should be able to control the climate control. We have that protocol all figured out, and we can use our on-screen display just like we're doing with the FRS to manage the climate control. And it's actually even a little bit easier for us. In the FRS and the BRZ side of things, we had to duplicate the climate control board itself to be able to have the OEM plugs to snap into it and make it go. Where in this case, we just need to be able to plug into the little climate control unit that's inside of the vehicle and use that, sending CAN bus commands to manage and control the climate control inside of the vehicle. So basically the similar settings as you would be sending down commands from the buttons, we're sending it more on a protocol level to make that work. So I think that's going to work out fine. It's going to actually be a simpler installation than before. You're not going to have to disassemble your climate control electronics to be able to fit our stuff in the middle inside there. So it'd actually be a cleaner installation all around, and we can still keep the 10.5-inch tablet for a large screen space. So yeah, we're not going to be able to use the physical knobs. They're just not going to work and fit with the screen inside there, but we are able to give you all the exact same functionality as what those physical climate control knobs are giving you in there. So let's just jump back in and take a look at what some of the illustrations of this might actually look like. So this was what was 10.2 of our illustrations, where we have seen kind of where we think the split lines on the plastics are going to work out. So we feel as though we can probably do a similar design, very like what we've done with the FRS or BRZ, where there's a a hazard button that sits in the middle, and the faceplate actually comes right off, and it comes over top of that hazard button that sinks the hazard button in a little bit. And we're thinking that we can do essentially a phone charging pocket below it. So here's where you can plug in with the extra charge cable to be able to have your phone sitting in there charging, or if you're using an Apple CarPlay dongle, plug it straight in, slide it straight into the pocket that's underneath, and be able to use that as a shelf to be able to hold your phone, charge it, and use any of those connections that you're doing out of your phone. So we think this is going to be kind of our best approach to be able to try to keep the screen as high as possible from a display standpoint, but also give you a little bit of room in here for a cell phone charging area. So generally speaking, again, this is an illustration. You know, whether the proportions and things work in here, is it going to be slightly different? We're still trying to get to that. And if we take a look here again, just as kind of a rough Photoshop based off of what we've done before, you know, with the part lines, where we think the part lines are going to be, and then essentially, you know, this pocket that's underneath to be able to provide that extra space for a cell phone for charging down in there. So that's where we are right now. We, you know, have been talking back and forth with Matt at Ballon Bay about this whole kind of scenario and how we're going to make this all work. And we just need to kind of make that decision going, you know, it's just not going to work with the climate control knobs, so that we can kind of move on with being able to create the bracketry that holds the tablet in there and the rest of the design. So you know, we're doing something very similar with the Genesis, where we've got a really tight quarters, even with the 8-inch tablet for the Genesis, where we've created a holder and some sample legs, and we've sent that out to a community member so that they can do some test fitting, give us some feedback. Maybe we can do a video chat with them to see what they like, what they don't like, and how that all fits. Because we're dealing with the constraints of not really being able to get out there into the community, bring vehicles in, open them up, do a test fitting ourselves. So we're trying to do the best we can with the community. So we'll likely call on the G37 community as well around being able to do some of this different test fitting that's in here. So that's the update for the G37. We think that this approach is actually going to be a little bit easier with the godforsaken harness conversations that go on with some of the other different kits that are out there, and the differences in the vehicles. From our research, and I want people that know differently or can show us differently, want to see that feedback. But from the research that we're looking at, is that the G37 stereo plug, the actual one that does all of the audio stuff that we're going to be concerned with, is the same across model years and across you know, different, whether it's a sedan or a coupe or you know, a convertible or along these lines. And it's actually the exact same plug that we use for the 370Z, and then how we configure that to be able to use both with Bose or not Bose setups inside of the vehicle. So I think we'll have, you know, less you know, troubles with everybody figuring out the right wiring harness for everything to fit, and it'll be a bit more simpler installation, plugging straight into you know, the CAN bus for the climate control, and plugging straight into the audio to be able to manage that. So it should be a much cleaner, simpler, more reliable type of a solution than you know, a more finicky solution of trying to make everything fit and pull apart some of the other different pieces and kind of piggyback on them. So that's where we are in the project. Just wanted to kind of go through this, give the community an update. I know there are some of you that have had your heart set on physical knobs and buttons for the climate control. Totally understand if that's a deal breaker for you and you want to back out of the program. Just let us know. You know, sometimes we run into these scenarios, and that's kind of, as we go through these, it's a bit of a trial and error in figuring out what actually will work with different vehicles, and we come into some of these stumbling blocks. So again, like I said, if it's a you know, a deal breaker for you, please reach out to us. We'll make it right for you, and we'll figure out how to move forward with you there, whether that's through a refund or you know, that's about all we can do because we can't quite make it work. So I think that's it. Babbling on here now. So thanks for joining in the video. Want to hear your feedback on the plugs, feedbacks on the direction. Please let us know, and we'll see you in the next video.